Hello everyone, I'm Mike Mertis and you are watching the brand new video series JAMMA Session. And JAMMA Session is an arcade video series where I finally have the opportunity to sit down and play some of my favorite arcade games and share those memories with you. And together we'll also check out some brand new arcade games that, well, even though they're not really brand new, they're brand new to me, and maybe I've never played them, and maybe in turn you haven't played them either. Now you might be wondering, why is this show called JAMMA Session? And if you're unfamiliar with what JAMMA is, essentially what it boils down to is the arcade scene when arcade cabinets first started coming out, mostly like the Atari games, Namco, all of those early companies in the late 70s. You pretty much weren't sure what you were going to get on the inside of your arcade cabinet, and it wasn't very easy to switch one game cabinet, the game inside of it, to something else. So the arcade industry really got smart and decided to make a universal standard. So if you wanted to put Street Fighter II in a different arcade cabinet, you could do so very easily because of the same harness connector. And that harness connector basically goes onto the board, and there you go. It's easy to play, and you don't have to make too many changes to the actual arcade cabinet unless there's some additional buttons or something else you need to get the game going. So in celebration of that universal harness that makes switching arcade games pretty easy, I decided to name the show after that. Now this show is also able to be produced thanks to our supporters over at my Patreon page. And this particular reward tier is for my dollar supporters. So any of those folks who paid $1 a month to support this particular video series, well, they get early access to it and they keep the series afloat. So as long as we have dollar supporters, this series will be ongoing. And for any of those folks who donated more money to the monthly cause, well, they also get the opportunity to see these as well. And of course, we don't want to lock any of you guys out of this content, so you eventually get to see it as well, which is pretty awesome. So thank you guys for providing the support. Let's get right into it with our first game, Final Fight. Got my punching skills in here. The first time I can actually recall hearing about Final Fight was from my sister's boyfriend, who said that he and his best friend played the game religiously together at the arcade, and they actually beat it. And I think they said it cost them like $20 together to beat, which I guess isn't too bad. But his best way of describing it to me was that it was basically like an even better version of Double Dragon, and that sounded freaking amazing to me. So further down the line, we would never get the opportunity to go to that 7-Eleven because it was on the other side of town, and it was kind of hard to convince my dad to, hey, drive us over to the 7-Eleven so we can spend a whole bunch of money we don't have on a single arcade game. So with that being the case, we never got the opportunity to really play it in the arcade, which was a bit of a disappointment. So where did I actually see this game for the first time? Well, it was in printed media, and I can't remember what exact magazine it was. It was maybe either a GamePro or an EGM, but they had an ad where these kids basically wanted to take their arcade favorites home. And how do they do that? Well, they decided to actually steal the arcade machine out the back door of the arcade. So it was a pretty funny ad, and those were some pretty strong kids because those things are pretty damn heavy. So yeah, that was the first time I saw that, and there were screenshots included in it, and I thought it looked really, really cool. And I still love this. This is one of my favorite continue screens. So yeah, that was the first time I actually saw this game. Now, when was the actual time that I first played it? Well, we had a rental store the next town over called Video Game Adventures. And we actually had a little bit more money than usual, so rather than renting a game, we were going to buy a game. And this particular game that we decided to pick up was the Super NES port of this game, Final Fight. And because I was going off my sister's boyfriend's comments that him and his best friend played it together, I thought that it would be an excellent game for me and my little brother who pulled our money together, or maybe he had the money, maybe it was birthday money, I don't know. It'd be the perfect game to play together. So we pick it up, right? 15 bucks I think it was, used. Not a bad price for a Super Nintendo game a year after its release, so that was probably like 92 maybe? So we get the game home, and we're really excited to play it, and we're wondering what the hell's going on because there's no two-player option, and my little brother is freaking pissed, and he's yelling and crying and telling me that I tricked him and that there is no two-player mode in this game, and he tells my dad, and my dad's all mad at me. Not very fun. So then, because my sister was still dating the same guy at the time, I was mad at him because I thought he was making it up, and he was like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. This really did have a two-player mode. That was definitely like probably one of my earliest memories of realizing that, you know, arcade ports weren't always super accurate. And not to mention the Super NES version had some obvious changes here, like Roxy here was completely changed to a male character. And I think the Super Nintendo version's even missing a stage. What surprises me the most, though, is that all the other Final Fight sequels that came out never came to the arcade. 2 and 3, strictly Super Nintendo. Now, as far as ways to play this, you know, obviously you can get the arcade board, which I do have, but now you can get Final Fight Double Impact on most previous generation consoles, and actually the Xbox One supports it if you have it. You can play it on the Xbox One. It's backwards compatible, which is awesome. It's a great game. But that's probably the best version to play. Otherwise, before that, if you didn't have access to the arcade cabinet, then the best version to play was the Sega CD version. Which actually, the Japanese version has a completely extended ending compared to all other versions. This had to be a blast to play in the arcade, though. I mean, especially if you were a Double Dragon fan. This had some great stuff to it. Oof. Bam! Oh no, time to switch over to Guy, who was a character cut out of the Super NES version, unfortunately. Got him. And with that, folks, that is a look at the arcade classic Final Fight. Thank you for watching JAMMA Session, and I guess before I go, let's break the shit out of this guy's car, right?
Oh my God.
I love it. Thanks for watching JAMMA Session, folks. We'll be back next month with another episode.
If you enjoyed this video, please help spread the word about GamerLogic content by giving us a thumbs up and sharing this video on all your social network feeds. Your friends will thank you, and we'll thank you too for helping us out. Want more GamerLogic content? Support us on our Patreon page for exclusive mini articles, mini videos, desktop backgrounds, import Bukin videos, and monthly video game music remixes. Even supporting us with $1 gets you something cool. Thanks for your support.